Dynasty Overload Podcast.
We got a long way to go. And there's no going back to the life we live, the life we already know. We got a long way to go. I've given everything, there's nothing left, there's nothing left.
Listening to the Dynasty Overload Podcast.
You know who not bomber class rampant? You know me? I am the original Dandana. You understand? Road boy, I don't want to ramp with bomber class me. Come on.
Listening to the Dynasty Overload Podcast.
What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Rez, man. Coming at you with another one, guys. This is the Dynasty Overload Podcast. Got a great show for you guys tonight. Listen, I'm joined by Mr. Dev. He's going to be on with us in just a minute. And listen, guys, got something special for you tonight. So we are recapping a 12-man super tight end premium draft that we did. Little Dynasty League that we did to start up. And listen, guys, we're just going to go over that. Basically, we're going to go over our strategies, what we've been thinking, what you should be thinking, and how to win and come out supreme in these super tight end premium leagues. Okay. And listen, guys, do me a favor. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with other people. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, and our terms of super tight end premium is basically saying that the tight end is going to get 2 points per catch. I'm gonna turn this down just a little bit, guys. I know I like to come in a little hot and heavy, but yeah, guys. So the super tight end premium is 2 points per catch. All right, so that's going to make somebody like Kelsey or whoever, you know, saying double the value that they were before. So listen, guys, that's pretty incredible, right? And in those leagues, hey, if you need strategy, if you're in one of those, and I like a challenge, so I like different setups, different leagues. Hey, Mr. Dev, you with us, brother?
Yes, sir.
All right. So yeah, just like those different challenges and stuff like that. And guys, I'm gonna bring on Dev. I'm gonna let Dev kind of explain what he was doing with this league, because this is a league that he was actually commissioning. So hey, Dev, tell us about that league. What was you thinking?
Yeah, so coming off the bat, I know I wanted a top 5 pick for sure. So I ended up getting 104 here. And that's a perfect spot for me, because I like to get my quarterback out of the way first, get my good starting quarterback.
Right.
So I ended up getting Jalen Hurts in this. I was hoping Joe Burrow was going to fall. Honestly, for me at the 102 there, though, I probably would have went Joe Burrow over Josh Allen, just a personal preference there. But
Okay.
I ended up getting stuck with Jalen Hurts, which I'm fine with. But pretty much, you know, I was waiting for at least Kelsey to go off, because waiting for Kelsey to go off the board, and then people in that draft didn't notice that it was a tight end premium draft.
So that surprised me a little bit, Dev, because honestly, I thought you was after Hurts. So I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but I was at 1-3, Dev was at 1-4 in this draft. And I'm just going to highlight him a little bit, just highlight those picks. But so Dev, so I end up going trading out. And I was really wanting Dev to come up and get the pick, and Dev was like, so I messaged him. Dev was like, "Oh, I'm good. I'll just sit and pick." And I really hated that because I was like, I wanted to say, hey, because I thought you wanted Hurts the whole time. I thought you was a Hurts guy, so I wanted to say, hey, Hurts could leave here, man. If I, but I really wanted to trade back one and kind of get assets that way. I think that's a good way of trading. And hey, right before we get too far into our diatribe on these strategies, one thing I want to always say, and one thing I always want to say and point out is you should always be checking your league scoring. So if you're like me, if you're a maniac like me, and you're joining a bunch of fantasy leagues, dynasty leagues, all kind of different leagues, you name it, I'm joining it. If you're like me and you're hopping in all these leagues, go and check the scoring. Do not be surprised by what's happening and not understanding, where the value where the value in your drafts are. You have to pay attention to that because sometimes people fudge the scoring themselves and they do something odd that they didn't even mean to do. And listen, I'm gonna tell you, hey, after I pay my money, that was the league rule. We got to keep it that way.
Yeah.
So and you can take so much advantage of that. So I used to play in a league called the Last Chance League. It was called the Last Chance League, and in that league, they attributed points per rushing attempt. And I'm like, per rushing attempt, man, I was always just grabbing all the running backs, whatever the running quarterback was. That's all I was trying to do, because that's where the value was. But most people just got in there and drafted like a normal redraft, and they weren't paying attention to the scoring. And I was just winning that league all the time. I hate it when it went away. But okay, off of that. But yeah, Dev, you're right. I thought that people or some of the guys that was in there, they either were uninformed on the tight end thing, which at some point somebody posted the scoring in the chat, and I know that people were aware then, but I still don't think, I'm not sure. So I'm gonna ask you this question: how do you think enough people reacted in a way of, hey, this is 2 points per catch for tight ends?
Yeah, so one of my pinned comments was read the rules. Like, I didn't just throw everything out there. Like, read the rules. And that was one of my pinned comments in there. And they didn't read, and there was a couple in there that didn't read the rules. I think T. McKinney was the first one to point it out, that it was a tight end premium. Right. And then it seemed like after that, because people were bashing on him for taking Kelsey at 2.7, and then by the time that came about, we were at like 2.11 or 2.12, and then people were like, okay, tight end premium, and then we get to 3.3 there with you, and tight ends. I thought we were going to go on a tight end drive there.
Right. So what's funny about that is, I must admit, guys, I was one of the guys. I was the main guy calling out McKinney. We should get him on the show one day. I was the main guy calling out McKinney on Kelsey, and the reason for it is because they had, listen, it's one thing I want people to know the rules, but I'm the guy that, if the commissioner says, hey, read the rules, that's a red flag for me. I'm gonna go and read them, and I'm gonna read them probably like 2 or 3 times just to make sure I got them right. If you are the type that doesn't read the rules, I'm sorry, bro. And so once they put that out in the chat, what I was trying to do was douse the fire. I was trying to put the fire out. So I was throwing some water and some salt all over that Kelsey pick, because I was sitting there like, trying to preserve these tight ends for me. So that was the main reason I was attacking this pick. This is called psychological warfare. And, sometimes you got to engage into it because, hey, we are competing, we are competing. We'll tell you guys another funny story later about McKinney and something that happened. I think it happened in this draft too. But, it's psychological warfare. It's funny that me and Dev got into a bit of a spout over JSN and trying to get JSN, trying to trade him to get JSN in the league. And what's funny is the guy went. I looked the other day, Dev. The guy went at 1-3. Neither one of us ever had a chance.
Nope.
It was the crazy. All right, Dev. So yeah. So I see in your. I'm gonna highlight you again. So I see you went Hurts first. I'm with that. I definitely believe in getting that. If you have the opportunity, getting that quarterback out the way, I definitely believe in that. So
Yeah.
I see you went Hurts first, and then I see you came back and grabbed St. Brown, which I think was a wonderful pick. Listen, I'm looking at your first 5 picks. Honestly, man, 7. I think these are incredible, man. Pick up at 3-4.
So 3-4 is when I realized, okay, Raz took a tight end here. T. McKinney's after me, and then it ended up being Matt. I was like, well, either I get a top 3 tight end right now, or I could be stuck with a top 8 tight end here. You know,
Absolutely.
So I wanted to go with the top 3 there, and Mark Andrews with the with the lock on quarterback there. It's a no-brainer. I think Mark Andrews he's a little older than T.J. Hawkinson.
Yeah,
but
about 2 years.
Yeah. So hold on real quick here. So yeah, with the lock on Lamar Jackson, I think, and Lamar Jackson favors Mark Andrews a lot, and I love that duo there. If Lamar didn't stay there, I probably would have went a different route. Yeah, without Lamar there, I think I would have went a different route. I probably would have went Pitts there.
Yeah. Honestly, I think Andrews was the perfect pick there. He was probably a better pick than what I did with Hawkinson, to be honest with you. I think if you go talent for talent or best situation, I think that it's probably Andrews, and I usually go Andrews. But I'm the type person who wants to try to change things up, so I go Hawkinson there. But the reason I think that was such a great pick is because you weren't gonna get a borderline top 5 tight end if you didn't get him right there.
Yeah, for sure.
You had to snag him right there. And I know you're like, hey, there should be a tight end run. And listen, to me, I agree. But listen, there are about 5 tight ends that I think are almost cheat codes having them on your team. And they all kind of went in that area. So I know. So I would say the 2 you could probably flip-flop on is probably Goddard and Kettle. But I like Kettle over Goddard. But you can flip-flop on those 2, or you can even just say it's 6. The rest of them, I think, are good, but not that level. And it just didn't seem like you were going to be able to get one of those guys, had you not went right there. So, and I think that's key, especially if you're getting 2 points per reception. Listen, if you, from memory, I'm not looking at it right now, but from memory, I believe in one of the super tight end premium leagues that I'm in, when I checked the scoring, Andrew's best year, I think he was like 400 something points or something like that, something along those lines. Just imagine if Lamar can stay healthy. And even if he doesn't get the 400, say he gets 3 or 350, man, that's mind-boggling. That's an absurd amount of points. And getting them at 3-4 is incredible. So, hey, kudos to you there. I definitely agree with that. Your next pick was Jacobs, which I thought was pretty good, and then Eckler. So you just decided to kind of go ahead and get your backs out the way?
Well, so the value was like the ADP value was there. Jacobs at 4.9 was great value for me. I mean, he was top 3 running back last year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and I think he's gonna have the same numbers as he did last year, if not more. Derek Carr's in there now. And I think I stated this last night, and Sheeler disagreed, but having Derek Carr there. Oh no, Derek Carr, not Derek Carr. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah,
I was
Garoppolo.
thinking a different spot there. So
Yeah.
Garoppolo there, I think Garoppolo and Carr are very similar, as far as, like their passing rating. So they're gonna be running the same with Jacobs, in my opinion. So I went Jacobs there, took the value there. I normally I don't like to go back too early, but the value dropped there, and Jacobs was
At 4-9, bro. That's almost the 5th round, and then you get Jacobs, Eckler, and then you come back with Swift. Man, I think that's incredible, and that's something that I've been seeing, man, in a lot of these startups. Is man, you can go ahead and grab the certain positions. You can grab 2 receivers, your quarterback, and then that running back, those top tier running backs, and maybe not, a Brees Hall or Jonathan Taylor, but as far as like a Jacobs, who's a top 5 running back, Eckler, who's the number 1 running back. These guys, and I know that people were down on Eckler. Hey, it's time to get back up on Eckler. And I know in Dynasty we're kind of like, well, he only agreed to the 1 year, and we don't know what's going to happen after that. Man, it doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. The man has talent. Even if he doesn't re-sign with the Chargers, I mean, the guy's not going to fall the face of the earth. So he's going to get an opportunity. So you got at least 2 years with Eckler getting some type of run, as long as he's barring the injury. So I still think that Eckler is a good buy. And then you come back with Swift. Swift is in Philly, and you already know that, hey, since the opportunities there could be crazy. So I think that's a good get, and you end up killing it with your running back room. I like this Cooper pick too, man. Tell me what you're thinking about Cooper.
Yeah, so with me, I'm not too high on any of the other wideouts there.
Right.
And Cooper's the clear number 1 wide receiver right now, and the value is there. Everybody was passing up on him.
Right. Hey, you know what? Listen, I have a big heart for Cooper. This guy gets points, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
He gets points. He's uber productive, and it seems like it doesn't matter where he's at. And I was telling Mr. Manny not so long ago, I was like, hey, but we were actually talking earlier today, and I was telling him, he was asking me about, I think he gave me a scenario between D-Hop, Keenan Allen, it was one other guy, and Cooper. I said, man, go Cooper. And he was like, well, why Cooper? I said, man, because Cooper's producing. I said, Cooper produced in Dallas. He went to Cleveland. He produced there his first year. I said, the man is what, 28? I said, we're all acting like he's 30. I said, the man's 28. I said, and then he's going into his second year with that, with Watson, who should be better, because a lot of us saw Cooper's numbers went down when Watson got into the game. But I think a lot of that was just rust and him trying to get that off. I think that's what we were seeing there. So I think you can attribute that to rust. But I mean, for me, 1,160 yards, 9 touchdowns is incredible. And you can almost bank this man for 1,000 yards, 8 to 9 touchdowns a year. So for me, get me in the door with Cooper. Give me all the Cooper I can get. And I told Manny earlier, I said, this man has 4 years left. So that's the other thing. This man has 4 years left. We're talking dynasty. He's a good buy, especially at 7'4". Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? So give me all the Cooper I can get. I love that pick. Then you hopped up for Kadarius Toney and Geno Smith. I like that. Geno was a top 5 quarterback, and I think that with them bringing in Charbonnet, JSN, and all those pieces around him, I think that they're helping their guy out. What are you thinking on that?
Yeah. So I gave my thoughts on JSN last night. I think he's going to be the number one wide receiver in that group. I'm not sure if they're gonna where they're gonna play him. I think he can play anywhere. But I think he's gonna be the number one wide receiver there. I think he'll outplay Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. And Tyler Lockett's stocks for me are going down now.
Well, he's 30, and then you're seeing Smith and Jigma move in. I think that Lockett is a lock for 800 yards again this year. I just think that unless there's an injury, I think he's a lock for 800 yards.
Yeah.
I think that a JSN is going to probably come in and get I think he's only going to get about 500, maybe 600 yards. I think that's going to be the cap for him. I think he won't get any more than 700-800 himself, just to be honest with you. I think his max is going to be 800 yards unless there's an injury that catapults him up. But I think that he's going to have a ceiling this year, and then from there it's going to be no holds barred. But I do think that JSN is going to get a lot of burn, and I think that that's that guy's name. The receiver we were just talking about, the older guy, I think that he's going to have this is his last year. Lockett. This is his last year of productivity. I do believe that. So in a dynasty, he's not somebody you want to waste. Well, not waste, but you want to use one of your foundational picks on. And then I see you traded up here with me a couple of times. And then you scooped me a couple of times. You surprised me with the Kadarius Toney pick.
Yeah, I reached for Toney a little bit there, but
that's okay.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney, I don't understand why a lot of drafts I'm seeing he's getting drafted in sometimes the 11th round, 10th, 11th round, and it's like he's the wide receiver one and the number one offense in the league. Absolutely,
and that has to account for something.
I mean, they got Kelsey, who's a target hog most of the time, but I like the wide receiver one position for Toney there. And if something were to happen to Travis Kelsey, that's the go-to all the time. I mean, not all the time. They got that. What's that rookie's name that got in there? I think Sky Moore
and Ray Rice.
Ray Rice. I think they're gonna be stretchers. Sky Moore he's got so much talent, but it's just their offense spreads the ball a lot. But
I don't think Kansas City ever used Mecole Hardman the way he was supposed to be used, and I think he's gonna have a better career with the Jets than he had with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
The Chiefs' offense is just a little different, and Tyreek was just such a freak, man, that I think he really stood out. But the thing about Toney is just as freakish as Tyreek.
Yeah, so if there's crazy.
So if you're gonna bet on somebody, I would say Toney's is a good bet. But I'm gonna say this: Sky Moore has talent, like you said, and I also think that Ray Rice is gonna be. I think he's somebody that can be very useful. I think he can be a very good wide receiver too. I definitely think that. So we'll see what happens. But I like the Toney pick there.
Yeah.
Kamara and Madison, I think those are great values. Listen, Juju Smith-Schuster, incredible value. This is somebody that's going to get you 250 dynasty points this year and maybe next too. So he's going to be giving you the production that you're getting that you got from what let's see, that receiver. I'm trying to think of the guy from Philly.
Devonta.
Yep. So Devonta's getting you like 240 points, 250 points. I think Juju's going to give you that for the next 2 years in New England.
Yeah,
I think he can get 200 to 250 points. I think you can bank on that. And I think where you got him at almost the 12th is incredible when you're getting Ayuk. I think Ayuk goes in the 7th. That's what you're getting from Ayuk. That's what you're getting from Judy. That's what you're getting from Hollywood Brown. So I'm like, so you're getting that same production as a player that was selected in the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th round. You're getting it, same production with a guy that you took in the 11th. I think that's incredible.
And it's the same thing, same scenario with Kadarius Toney there. Like, I don't understand how he's sliding down. Like,
right.
Tyler Lockett was only 5 picks after Juju, and Juju's a number 1 wide receiver in that offense right now.
Right. So we're gonna go through some of these other ones you got. We'll go through really, really quick. Because I think you were working that day. So these last picks, I know some of them you didn't make, but you ended up getting Pierce, who I like. We'll see what happens with AR-15. Mooney. I think people are more down on Mooney than they should be. I think you should definitely be down on Mooney. I don't think you should be round 15 down on Mooney. Yes, I mean, that's a little far. Shorter, I think that's a good dart throw. Chark, I like Chark. Vaughn is interesting because Dallas didn't add anybody else during the draft. And so I would be very intrigued to get Vaughn at 18-9. That's great because I'm very interested in what Vaughn is doing. And I know I'm in this draft too, so some guys gonna say, well, if you like these guys so much, why didn't you get them? We'll talk my team in a minute. Gallup scares me because I think he has talent, but it's like either he's always unhealthy or you just never get it out of him. The rest of these guys we're gonna skip.
So Noah Gray and Tom Brady there, I got autoed on because I was at work.
Right. Yeah, the rest of the guys are gonna skip.
I don't like the auto on Noah Gray there with Travis Kelce being 33 years old. You know. Yeah,
I agree.
So I'm not too upset about that auto, but the Tom Brady auto, I was like,
right. No, I agree. But listen, out of the guys that you got there. Oh, you know what? And now I can see the Detroit fan in you because I do like Marvin Jones and I do like Khalif Raymond because these are guys that I think will eventually get you points. So I love that. And then I'm gonna bring it up here because it is Dynasty. I want to see the picks you had too because I know you traded some away. Did you trade all your picks away or just
just my second and third?
See, and that's something that Dev, like over this time that we've been playing together, which is what, like last 2-3 months, something that's an evolution that I saw out of you that I really like. And I don't know if you ever notice it, man, but for the most part, I always hold on to my first if I can. I actually traded my first in this one, but we'll discuss it. But I try to always hang on to my first round pick, and there's big reasons for why. And maybe that's just another show, but yeah, it's big reasons for why. Hey, Dev, I'm going to transition into my team and what I was trying to do here. Any questions you have, just feel free, man. Just poke and pry me on anything, bro. So coming into this super tight end premium league. Listen, I wanted to do it one because Dev was going to commission it. So I thought it was going to be pretty interesting. And the other thing is I like these. I really do. So last year I won I competed in a lot of the super tight end drafts or startups. Man, so those I did very well in. Well, we had one earlier this year that I didn't do so well in. So that's a whole nother story. Maybe I should make a video on it. But I wanted to redeem myself here. Something that I know and that I have learned about super tight end premiums is go for the tight ends. And that's something I wanted to do. I wanted to go at my value positions. And maybe I'm wrong. And you guys can call me out on that. That's no problem. We will see at the end of this year. But I definitely wanted to go for my value positions. So I started off at the 1-3. Not sure what really happened here, but somehow I end up, my first pick is 210. I go Dak Prescott. So I just did this in another league where I traded from the same spot from 1-3, and I ended up getting down to 2-4. I didn't want to play no games, so I went ahead and grabbed Dak Prescott there. So
Yeah. What did you trade there?
I think what the trade was because I can't remember. Because I think I traded down again. That's why I wasn't going like too far into it.
Oh,
but
gotcha.
I think it was like a 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, as a matter of fact, hold on. I know it. I have it screenshotted. As a matter of fact, yeah, I have it screenshotted because we talked about it amongst ourselves one night. Let me go up. So I end up trading the 1-3 for 3-12, 4-1, and 8-1, and a 24 first. I think that's what the trade was.
Wow.
So yeah, the 24 first, 8-1, 4-1, and 4-12. That was the original trade. So for me, it was like, okay, I'm just going for the value. But the other thing I knew was I said, well, I'm telling myself those will probably be tight end picks for me because I can just go ahead and pencil them in. And I'm thinking about that 24 first too. So like I said, man, it worked out, man. I ended up getting Dak Prescott, and then I come back and I grab who was my number one tight end target. Well, actually, I'll take that back. I'll say number 2 because had Kelsey fell there, I would have took Kelsey. So
For
Hockenson
sure.
was my number 2 tight end target in the entire draft, and I grabbed my Hockenson. Instantly, I felt bad because I'm an Andrews guy, and I've always pretty much went Andrews, but I like to change things up. So I was targeting Hockenson, and I got him. And then Dev gets Andrews, and I'm like, and I just questioned my whole life after that. But anyways, yep. Anyway, so then I'm at the turn, and I'm looking at receivers, man, and there was on the board was Stephon Diggs, Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf. My initial plan was to go Stephon Diggs because I was like, I want to get these points because I knew I wasn't gonna grab too many receivers. So I was like, let me go ahead and grab Diggs, and then let me get Devonta. So I gotta get somebody that's young. And then Mr. Sheilor wants to trade. He tossed me a second. I let him get Devonta. I grab DK Metcalf now, and I go Diggs. I don't mind that because even if Metcalf ends up being like the number 2 to JSN, let's remember that Devonta's the number 2 to AJ Brown. So it's not like I lost too much there. Like I said, then I go Diggs because I'm liking what's happening with Allen, and I'm thinking that he's safer than Cooper Kupp or Deontay Adams or Devonta Adams, whatever his name is. I'm thinking he's safer than those guys because Adams is having an issue with Oakland, and Kupp, has to rely on Stafford and his arm. So I was like, let me go Diggs because Diggs is the consistent one. But I am a Drake London guy, and I was hoping that maybe he slid. Of course not. He is the next pick. So then I go Treylon Burks because I'm a Tennessee Titans fan, and because Treylon Burks is going to be the number 1 receiver there, and I think he has high upside. And I said, hey, man, I know I'm not going too many receivers here, so I definitely want to grab my guy. So I know I overdrafted him. At 410, I overdrafted Burks, but I wanted him bad, so he's on my team. And I think sometimes, man, you just got to make that move because sometimes, man, it's a player that you want. If you don't get him, you're going to feel some type of way. So I was hoping that Pat Freiermuth made it to me. And the whole time I'm sitting here thinking, these guys are – I'm sitting here laughing to myself because I'm like, these guys are not taking tight end serious.
No.
Like I'm sitting like, do they understand it? It's 2 points for okay.
The whole fourth round, nobody took a tight end.
No one took a tight end, and the thing that baffles me is there was entire teams that did not have a tight end or that were going to go tight end late. They basically saying, "Oh, I'm going to avoid tight end," and I'm saying, "Oh, I'm going to punt tight end." You do not punt the premium position, guys. That's a bad idea. Do not punt the premium position. Last year, there was a team that I won a championship with last year that was so mediocre. And if you looked at that team and said, how in the heck did he win this league? If you go and you look at my tight ends, I had one top tier tight end, and the rest of them were like middle of the pack tight ends. But they were so consistent in the points that they were giving me that it was crazy. It was crazy. And I almost couldn't lose. And it was the most average looking team. It wasn't pretty. But the thing is, I grabbed at the value positions, and people laughed at me during that draft. And at the end of the year, and for some reason, I'm not liked in that league for whatever reason. So at the end of the year, they all hated me still. And it was the worst because I won. And I'm going to try to run it back again with some of those oldies at the tight end position. But that was a lesson learned. When we did our rookie draft just now, those rookie tight ends were getting chewed up and ate up, because everybody understood, go for your premium position. So after Burks, I go back at tight end. And the thing is, I'm like, because I wanted Freiermuth, but I'm sitting here like, okay, cool. Freiermuth's off the board. I said, let me I want to take a big swing, because I'm sitting here noticing these guys don't care about tight ends. I said, all right, I'm going to go Kincaid, because I know people like shiny new names. I said, I'll grab Kincaid down. That way I know I got him, and then I'll get somebody else that I think is going to outproduce him later. And, of course, that's what happened. I come back, I get Charbonnet. I like Charbonnet in the 6. Maybe it was a little overreach, but I knew I wasn't going to. I knew that receiver and running back, unlike most people, I wasn't going to sit there and go too far into. I just wanted guys that I thought had high potential. But I didn't care too much about it either, because I figured if I grab Charbonnet, I'll grab somebody else that produces later. I'll tell you who a target of mine was James Conner. I think we talked about him the other day. But James Conner was a target of mine. Reason for that is because he's getting points in production, and you can get him in 11th and 12th round. We'll see where he went in this league. I come back, I go Dulcich. And the reason I go Dulcich, he doesn't have a history of potential things, but I am going for home run hitters. I'm going for guys with premium talent. And I'm sitting there looking at Dulcich, and I'm like, man, that guy has premium talent. Now, the other thing I'm noticing is, I said, man, there's a lot of quarterbacks on this board. It's crazy to me. And I've already got these extra picks from a couple of trades that I did. So I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm going to go ahead and grab these quarterbacks, because what else? What else is a premium position? In a super flex league, there are 32 quarterbacks that are viable, okay? There is going to be 24 quarterbacks needed every week, which leaves us with what? 8 quarterbacks left? Okay, cool. So most contenders are going to want to carry 3 of them. So you say that 6 extra guys are going to carry 3. That means it's actually going to be 2 more left over for the other teams. And now, how many of us understand that there's going to be injuries and all kinds of things? So now our next premium position is going to be the quarterback position. And even if I can't get players, I'm feeling like, hey, I'll be able to get draft picks. And what are we doing in Dynasty? We are building teams. So I definitely want to be able to leverage what I'm doing against other people who are grabbing people like Rashad Bateman for whatever reason, and other guys that are probably never going to do anything. I don't understand why anybody's grabbing Joe Mixon. Listen, even late, I just think you can leave Joe Mixon alone, because I don't think you're going to get a whole lot out of Joe Mixon. Me personally, I think you can leave him alone, because I just don't believe. Okay, moving along. I grabbed Stafford. I grabbed a chain. I thought that was a good value for a chain. I wanted Spears too. That didn't work out. But listen, the plan was, hey, grab Young now and then come back with veteran later. That was the plan, right? I still wasn't going. And the other thing is this is something that I do, guys, so you understand is as I'm drafting, I'm always counting. So I'm always counting. So as I'm knowing that I want tight ends. So before I make every pick, I count how many tight ends that are on the board that I want. I have them in my queue, and I go back and I recount. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I go and I count my quarterbacks. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going quarterbacks because I'm knowing. Because at one point I was talking to Manny, and I said, "Hey, bro," I said there's 10 quarter. No, I said there's 8 quarterbacks that I want left on the board. I said there's 11 tight ends that I'm looking at. I said so I'm going to continue to grab the quarterbacks because my tight ends are still there. So as they start to grab more tight ends, that's when I'll get back into my tight end hunt. You see what I'm saying? I am always paying attention to what's on the board. I'm not just, coming back, looking and saying, hey, what's on the board? Okay, let me make my pick. I'm watching the board kind of like you would watch the board with a chess game. You want to see the whole board. And that's something that I try to do because guess what we are doing, guys? We are competing. All right. So I get my next guy in Okonkwo, who I think is going to have a breakout. You guys can just call me a Tennessee fan, which is fine. I actually did trade a quarterback in here where I had grabbed David Carr, and I guess it ends up taking him off. No, Ritter. I had grabbed Ritter here, and I ended up flipping Ritter for multiple picks and a future draft pick. So this is already my QB strategy working. I knew that I was getting a stranglehold on him at this point, and a lot of guys was knocking on my door for quarterbacks already. But listen, don't sell for less than the value. And something else, if you catch yourself on the other side of this, and I know I'm giving you guys a lot of information. I'm sorry about that. But if you catch yourself on the other side of this and say, hey, somebody snatched all the quarterbacks, and then you need one, I want to tell you something, guys. It's going to be cheaper to go ahead and trade for that quarterback in the draft than it is going to be afterwards.
Yeah.
So afterwards, they're going to want. So afterwards, hey, I'm going to say, hey man, listen, I need JSN. Oh, hey man, I need London. Or I need Addison. So like compared to where you drafted them at, that's going to be crazy. So if I'm saying, hey, well, you need Ritter. Okay, man, well give me 2 or 3 picks, on down the line. That's going to cost you a lot less than it will, after the draft. So just so you know. So keep that in mind. But yeah, so you know what I'm talking about though, Dad.
Yeah. A lot of people, and I've seen that happen a lot, is they'll wait till the draft is over and then they'll expect it at where you picked them at.
Right, exactly.
No, this is super flex. Like this is a starting quarterback who has value in super flex. You can't, like you said, if you're going to trade for him, trade him during the draft. Try not to do it after the draft.
Right.
It's just going to cost you more.
It's going to cost you more, man. So to sum it up, man, sum up the rest of my draft, I end up getting Okonkwo, who I think is going to be a top 15 tight end. Otten, I'm not sure about him. He might be around the 20th. I think Gesicki has a chance to be top 15. I think Higbee will probably be top 10 again. I think it's just Gesicki has a chance to be top 10. Fan has a chance to be top 15. What I'm trying to do, Conklin has a chance to be top 15. What I'm trying to do with my tight ends is I'm going to flex all tight ends. And then I wanted to make sure I had backups for them. And I wanted to make sure that I had extra tight ends. So if somebody wanted to trade and somebody said, hey man, you're getting so much production out of your tight ends, and somebody wanted to trade for them, I want to be the guy that can provide you a tight end and get a premium back. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And also something else I want you guys to understand is I ended up getting Brian Robinson, Devonta Foreman to back up my young running backs earlier too. So, and then I ended up grabbing some guys, just a handful of just regular guys, just to try to back up my premium receivers. Because you guys, as you guys know, I didn't really go at receiver and I really didn't go at running back too much. What I wanted to do was get young talented guys, and then back them up with wily veterans later that will probably just get some points, but probably not going to be somebody you want to stake your team around. But I just wanted to have those anchors and then have something to kind of support them in the back. Bye weeks and, people getting hurt and such. And that's pretty much, man, I'll recap on those drafts, man, that tight end premium draft. And something else I want to say is I walked away. I did trade my first rounder, but as you guys remember, I traded for a first rounder. So I walked away with a guy who I think is going to have a worse record than me first. And I also walked away with 4 second round picks for next year and 2 thirds. And so I think I'm set up pretty good in that league. And I think that when you go into it, man, you just kind of go into it with a strategy. And like Dev said, man, and like I'm saying, if there's a premium at a position, you really want to go for the premium, man. You really want to make sure that you have that, because if you don't, then you're not taking advantage of the league rules there.
Yeah, one of the leagues that I was in, the guy was messaging me talking about quarterbacks and saying it's super flex league, same thing. It wasn't tight end premium though, but he's like, yeah, I'll just put a good wide receiver in as that super flex spot, and it'll get me the same numbers. I'm like, dude, that's not that's not smart.
No.
Because now, like, because he only had one starting quarterback. All the rest are backups, but he had a solid wide receiver group and he had a solid running back group. So his thought was, get my, I think he ended up having Joe Burrow. He got Joe Burrow. That's the only starting quarterback that he drafted. And he's like, well, I'll just put Justin Jefferson there and he'll get me the same amount of numbers. But now when it gets to Cincinnati's bye week, you don't have a backup quarterback to even replace Joe Burrow. So now you're losing, 30 points, 25, 30 points.
Absolutely. Hey, Dev, listen, I've only seen it happen. I can only recall one time that I've seen a guy who only had one quarterback on his roster win a championship. And even that was a fluke. That was a major fluke. And that was years ago. Other than that, I've never seen it happen. I've seen people try. I've seen people, the thing is, you cannot fall in love with the position players in the beginning. You fall in love with the Garrett Wilsons and the St. Browns and the Waddles and the AJ Browns and the Tyreek Hills, the Justin Jefferson, the Jamar Chases. Listen, people fall in love with those names, and I'm sitting there thinking there's almost never a reason to take a receiver first overall in the draft. I've not seen too many people recover from that, and I know that it's a shiny toy, and I've heard a lot of people talk about it on dynasty shows and fantasy shows and stuff like that. The thing is, like, as far as the results, I've never seen it work in the results. I don't see it work often at all. So it's like if I'm not seeing it, the guys that I see win the championships are the guys I usually see that either trade up and get like 2 crazy good quarterbacks and mess around and have a Patrick Mahomes and a Joe Burrow. I've seen those guys win. I've also seen guys that trade down and they end up with a Russell Wilson and a Kirk Cousins, and they load their teams up with all this other stuff. I've seen those guys win. The people I haven't seen win is the guys that, go and grab, they maybe had Goff last year and then came back and had somebody else terrible, like a Tannehill or somebody, and then and they grabbed them at the end of the draft, and it was like, oh yeah, man, I got all this talent at these other positions. And then what happens is, man, they take that talent they had at those other positions and trade them for a quarterback, or they trade them for something else because whatever it is on their team isn't working. So I think we always got to try to build solid teams.
That's kind of what I did. I kind of fumbled with the drafting tight end, but like after I drafted Mark Andrews, I couldn't pass up the value with Jacobs or Eckler or Swift or Cooper. So I was like, yeah, I want to take a tight end here. but the values are just they messed with me there. So I was thinking in my head, I'll take these running backs, these top tier running backs, and maybe I can flip one, or even maybe flip Cooper, or something I can flip for a Goddard or a Njoku, and get more in return with that on top.
I see what happened to you. Yep. See, that happens. I didn't even notice that you didn't take another tight end. Yeah. Didn't even notice that. So
I
yeah.
couldn't let the value fall. That's the thing. I wanted to go Pat Freiermuth.
It's so hard. It's so hard, bro. It's like it's so hard to look, and like people like, when I'm taking my quarterbacks, you know how I do the quarterback thing. When I'm doing that, man, it's really hard not to be, and I have to sit over here and watch you guys take all these nice players that Amari Cooper. I'm like, ugh. Well, maybe Dulcich would have failed and I would have had Cooper. I have to sit there and endure that, and because I'm like, let me build a team, but it's really hard to do. It's a real discipline, man.
Yeah,
it really is.
Actually, with that Eckler pick there, I had Goddard. I wanted to go there, but then I kept talking myself out of it. And I'm like, okay, maybe Goddard will make it back around to 6'9".
Right.
And I couldn't pass the Eckler value there, so I went Eckler, and then Goddard, went 6 picks later.
Yep.
And I was like, well, shit.
But listen, so this is the trap that you were in. Eckler is a great pick at 5'4", right? The thing is, man, after Goddard goes, you're really in no man's land at this point. I mean, because honestly, who do you go after Goddard? After Freiermuth was gone, I took Kincaid. Goddard's off the board. It's kind of like, who do you go? So I definitely understand the Swift pick. Like, I'm putting a lot of trust into Dulcich. The other thing though is I knew, because you know, man, I do this almost like a religion, but so I'm going Dulcich because I knew, hey, later on I'm gonna try to get Higbee, Fant, Conklin, because I'm like, I'm gonna, if he doesn't do what I need him to do, I'm gonna make up for it later, because I'm assuming, or I'm banking on all the other drafts that I've done to say that, hey, these guys probably won't be paying attention to those guys, later. They won't probably know that Conklin was a top 20 tight end, and that Higbee was a top 7 tight end last year. So if you don't have that information right at the back of your head, you're not really thinking about it, then you won't really go into it. Fant will probably be a top 20. He had a down season last year for whatever reason, but I think he still had, let me see how many points he had. He still had a decent season, but it just wasn't what it needed to be. But he's still, I thought, still a worthwhile pick there. And like I said, my whole plan the whole time was to flex only tight ends. I was like, I'm just going to flex tight ends. And
I think going back and looking at my draft as well, I think the mistake that I made was, I love the Kamara value there, but I think Njoku would have been a smarter pick there.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. And Njoku would have been the pick. Yeah. Yep. Oh, that guy, the big cat Jaguars guy, man, I was honestly looking for Laporta. If Laporta had failed, then I wouldn't have made that trade with you there, because I was looking for Laporta to try to get it on the team. Because the other thing I was sitting there thinking is, I said, man, well, if I can get Laporta on the team, eventually these guys are gonna, these young guys are gonna come up, and guys are gonna want to trade a whole lot for them. So I'm sitting there thinking, if I get him in the 11th, this guy might end up turning into a, first and a second, or something like that, or something crazy. So
rookie tight ends are tough with me, dude.
They are tough. They usually don't produce for like 3 years. So so I was on a guy named Ruckert last year, and Ruckert's probably not going to produce this year either. He's probably going to be 3 to 4 years before you get any real production out of him.
Yeah, I think the best shot at a rookie tight end actually doing something by year 2 is going to be Kincaid
or Mayer. I think Mayer probably, I think he landed in probably the best position between him and Laporta. they probably landed in the best position for tight ends. Somebody else I think was a good sleeper. Cole Kmet was a good sleeper, but another one was McBride, and Lord ends up taking him from a trade with you, ends up taking him at 12-9. If you remember, McBride was basically going in first rounds last year at that tight end position, but I'm thinking a lot of people are probably down on him right now because of the team, probably because of the Cardinals. People aren't excited about the Cardinals right now, and I get that. So I can't fault anybody like that on that. So hey man, so listen, as far as these tight end premium leagues, man, for one, man, I want to just say thanks for the invite. Thanks for creating the league, man. I think it's a lot of fun. It's been very interesting. The characters that you invited are definitely charactering right now.
They're a piece of work.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. but I think you've done a great job, man. And Dev, just met you from just doing this, man. And listen, me and all the rest of the guys really like you, bro. So
yeah,
we appreciate you coming on the show, man, and hanging out with us and spending some time, man. So it's been great. And just tell me, man. So like on your next tight end premium league, what do you think you may do just a little different?
Obviously draft more than one starting tight end.
I said the list,
and don't let the values get to me.
Yeah, you drafted a good team. Like even would you only grab the one? Listen, you grab the right one. If you're gonna get one, get the right one. So you got the right one. The other thing though is, you could have got some more later. But hey, it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Yeah. You still drafted a great team.
But you just watch. I'll make a trade. I'll get some tight ends in there.
Oh, I'm sure you will. Man.
I like my trades. You know me.
Hey man, somehow, man, you're a very likable guy. Most people like you in the league, and they end up just giving you their players for whatever reason. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna fall for your charms, bro. Just because you got a great beard, I'm not gonna fall for it, man. But yeah, man, thanks for hanging out with us. Hey guys, thanks for checking us out again on the Dynasty Overload podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you learned anything, great. If you can take any tips or tricks from this stuff, that's awesome. And listen, guys, if you guys have any information for me or how I could have built my team a little better, I could have got a few more veterans because I did kind of go young. But listen, I was keeping in my back pocket. Maybe, hey, if this thing doesn't work out, I can tank and do something else. So maybe I shouldn't think like that. Maybe I could have got a couple of more solid players a little earlier, which is all good. Hey, we're all learning, guys. And listen, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. This is Dynasty Overload Podcast. We are out.